I do want to start by saying that we have a great Academic Alliance microsite that's now live, and that's joinjnaa.zohosites.com. It's not on our standard website. Due to some restrictions on the sorts of things we can do actively on the website. So if you don't remember anything, you can always reference it here. I've done the best I can to put as much information on this website as possible, and the content continues to grow. But actually, everything is driven from here. You can learn about the program. You can actually apply. Download the agreement. There's faculty registration here. There's a section for our registered faculty, and so all of these things are available. There's different levels. Some of it's just open, so it's free for viewing. Some of it is password protected, and as you get access. And our registered faculty in our system, then you get access to the resources and so on and so forth. The one other thing I'll just mention here before I go into the talk today, I do actually have, I've recorded myself in living color, and so I do talk through the various different modules of the program. So if you want to share this with any of the members of your team, it's a great opportunity to get a kind of a top-down view of the program itself, and then would be happy to have a conversation with y'all at that point where we can have really kind of a more intelligent conversation at that point, because you've already seen sort of the basics. So I encourage you to, when you have a few moments, take some time and have a look at that. As I said, I'm going to just briefly talk about our Academic Alliance program here. This is a program, just to put it into the kind of the bigger picture. We have a couple of different programs which are sort of our external channels for enabling learning. One is our commercial channel, which is our authorized education partners. And those are commercial training companies that join us, pay actually quite a lot of money to participate. It's the standard model that you see in industry, where there are kits sold and so on and so forth, and instructors get certified, and we have a big distributed system in that sense. I bring this up only because our Academic Alliance program is really the other side of that. It's our collaborative environment and outreach program to be able to enable your students to be successful. And so within that context, the core content of what is provided at great cost to our authorized education partners, we provide this to you for free so you can enable your students. So, and this is literally thousands of dollars worth of education and value that your students could get out of it.
So maybe you want to elaborate a little bit about the three parts. What do we get?
Surely, yes. So I'll cover some of it here, and then we'll be happy to talk more about it afterwards as well. So a little bit about Juniper, and I won't go too much into this because most people now know who Juniper was. When I first came here and started talking about it 4 years ago, it was, if they could spell it right, then that would be a great thing. I said Jupiter, who's Jupiter, So we're based out of Sunnyvale, California, but we have a global presence. We have 128 offices in 47 countries. Our main headquarters is here in Sunnyvale. We've got a big corporate presence on the East Coast, as well as Netherlands is our international corporate center. We have a center also in Hong Kong and Singapore. But we really have a big presence. And the last I heard, something like 60% of the internet transactions cross Juniper equipment. So despite the fact we are not as large a company as the C company, that I'm not allowed to mention in presentation, our footprint is enormous. Anytime you do any of the social media stuff, any of the heavy lifting and the internet is pretty much running across our stuff. So that kind of gives you an idea of the sorts of opportunities your students would have as they learn this technology and prepare themselves for a career in whatever part of that infrastructure and ecosystem they might be interested. We're about 9,000 as a company, but our presence is much larger because we have we do a lot through partners. And in the same way that we collaborate with academia to extend our learning arm and our authorized education partners on the commercial side, we also have a huge partner ecosystem on the sales side, technical support, and so on and so forth. So while we're a core company that's focused very much on the technology that we do, we have big infrastructure opportunities through companies that are out there. So the top 130 service providers use our stuff. That's your cell phones. We power the 99 of the Fortune 100 companies, and actually the C company is the only one we don't have right now. And New York Stock Exchange and 5 of the other major stock exchanges in the world, and 80% of the smartphone traffic. So this again gives you an idea of that. We consider ourselves as a disruptive technology company. So we develop things and we put it into the market ahead of things. If you look at some of the announcements that we made just recently, you'll see once again some really groundbreaking areas in the terms of speeds and feeds and virtualization of routers and so on. So it's something that I think if you want to spend just a few minutes to explore, I think you'll see how just exciting this time is in this industry and how we are participating and growing it. Going more closely to our academic alliance, so the focus, as I mentioned, is really to collaborate with academia for your students. Our program is really about your students, and to that end we've made it quite flexible. We intend to extend their knowledge so they can be better prepared for the job market, and from the viewpoint of the community college and your learning organization, we try to create that stickiness so the students are excited. They want to continue those studies and want to extend their efforts in that particular area, kind of stay with it, if you will, which is something that was brought up today. So to that end, we have a flexible program, and so it's what we call the ICARE model, and so it includes Certified Advanced Research and Explore. The areas that we're most are focused in community college areas include and certified. So you can, within the include tier, although this is an umbrella under Academic Alliance and you can switch and match these as you go, under the include tier, we have, you can take any portion of our curriculum and include it in classes that you have already, whether they're business technology classes, networking classes, computer science classes, cloud classes, whatever. Just how can we provide value to the classes that you're offering already? We do, of course, have a certification program. It's robust, and this is still green pasture times for students that want to learn our technology. There are a lot of C people certified out there, and as I mentioned earlier, you can see the kind of presence that we have in a lot of very, very large organizations and ecosystems. So the students that bother to take this to the next level can do really quite well for themselves at this particular moment. We anticipate continued growth, but this is a kind of a moment in time, if you will, for early adopters in the advanced certifications. What you're setting your students up for is potentially further education. The advanced part of our tier is talking about master's programs, and we're working with some universities to develop specific master's programs that include Juniper technology. So the foundation you give your students is pretty important for kind of that next step. And this last year has been a pretty big year for us in the research and explore arena. We have a number of universities that want to take in the foundational Juniper ecosystem. They do research, either port research projects over. They're looking to do research in security and higher bandwidth transmissions, fiber, all sorts of interesting things that are coming out of the woodwork. So our system provides a good platform for students to and researchers to be able to extend that. Of course, in order to be able to do that, you also have to understand the underlying technology and how it all fits together. Our environment is programmable, and so that allows students to use our software development kits to write to the devices themselves or to the ecosystem. And there's some interesting things that may be useful as projects for your students where we are launching into this. How do you make this stuff more available in automation, for example? So the scripting. All of these things are so you can provision large networks in a short period of time or change the way all of those things work. And so this is something we're using Java and some of the cloud services programming languages. You can have your students work on some of these projects. We have a number of them. And if you have students that are interested, that are kind of a little further along the line, we would love to be able to collaborate with you in that area as well. So the benefits, as I mentioned, the program is for free. There's no charge for it. This is our collaborative give back program. All that we ask is that you're a good partner with us and you provide these resources for your students so they can benefit from it. The curriculum is for free. It's provided as a download. The lab resources through Juniper give you a good way to start into the program without costing you anything. Juniper is our virtual environment, and that is actually the OS sitting on a hypervisor. We have it in the cloud, and you can book time on that and have your students play in the sandboxes that we provide. I'm sorry?
That's your own hypervisor?
Actually, we support several different hypervisors. We don't build hypervisors, but we have, I'm trying to think of it, we just changed over on the internal one, so I don't remember what it is right now. But the other one is, so we have the cloud version, and we actually have a version that sits on VMware. So with our academic alliance, if you have a large VMware servers already, we can give you a license for that system. Now, the advantage with the cloud version is it has, you have all the stuff in one place, right? So you've got all the configurations. Basically, you click. I'll show it to you here in a little bit. That you click and you can load up the configurations just like that. Really.
So if we don't have the resources to actually host all this, what are the requirements
yeah, if you use the cloud version, I'll just pop over to this right now. But if you use the cloud version of this, basically it's just clicking. You click on your bank, you click on your sandbox,
sure.
And basically you just start that. So you need a browser and internet connection.
But is there like a limit for each institution?
Oh, I see. That's a good question. Yeah.
Institution and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So there's no cost for what would be regular use in support of our classes. Okay. So let's say you're running a class. We have already some worksheets on what approximately your students would need for that. But we would have a conversation prior to that and say, okay, I think we need this many of this many students. This is how many times a week they'd be studying, and so we just allocate that portion to your bank. And so it goes bank, sandbox, and then your configurations that you put into each of the router images. Does that answer the question? Or?
Kind of. But
okay.
For example, if I'm teaching a class, and the students need maybe, I don't know, they will access and do their homework, I don't know, 3-4 times a week.
Sure.
And then we have to access during the class also.
Yeah.
Is that
so it is feasible, and so what we do, again, we do this calculation and we set that up. If you run out of VMs, I'll get you some more. You know, I mean, so we want the students to understand it and to use it. The VMs as they sit right now in the cloud are 24-hour access. So when you start it, it goes in 24-hour increments. So you can actually do the class during the day. The students can continue their work in the evening. And if you need to give them work time at that point, then you can just set up another one. One of the things that has just changed, and I thought I'd be able to show it today, but we're still we're like a week away from putting it out there. So just in the same way we announced Juniper first here, I'll give you guys a hint on that. The sandboxes started out being kind of a collaborative sandbox, so you had eight systems in it. There'd be 16 students. We then took that down to 2, so students would work together. This year we have a single student sandbox. So this is going to be kind of interesting, so you're not dependent on the other student to be able to do your exercises. Each sandbox is self-contained, and so you can give homework to students. Say, look, you just log in, set up your time, and do your work. Each student would have its own login at that point. Again, in the effort to be able to better support these activities, this is something I think that should be pretty exciting. It's always nice to have students work in pairs. That will still be available, but from a flexibility point of view, I think.
So what's the process to take, for example, I have 15 students at the beginning of the semester, and they have a whole semester to finish work. So do I have access to Juniper to create their usernames and passwords?
Juniper.net, you would be allocated users. So you tell me you have 15 students, I'll give you 15 logins, and then X number of VM hours or VM days. And then, so you just would crank it up or tell them, start your sessions now. And in the same way that I could do this right here, right now, takes a few minutes, that I would pick up the sandbox that I'm looking for. I would take that, and basically I can just start that topology. It takes about, I don't know, 7 minutes or something to crank up, and then off you go. Yeah.
Now, what about the documentation, other things for that specific class? Is it printed? Is it PDF?
So all of our documentation is provided in our digital download, and so each student, you get a special code which you would give your students. They can download to their own account, and so they can view it on their desktop or laptop or their portable device, tablet devices. They can also print certain sections of it if you want to, or they could print the whole thing. I mean, most people don't, but they would, for example, use the course book in the digital format. Maybe print the lab guide so they can make their notes. And
is there a cost for that?
No, there is not. Yeah, so that's all provided as part of that. The cost that is incurred is if you want hard copy books. That costs us, so we pass that cost on, and so that's kind of on a cost basis. But we can do that for you if you need. Yeah.
So I don't have this in my college.
Okay.
So if I were to start up a Juniper type class, or a series of classes, do they start from square one where you don't have to have any prerequisites?
Okay. Yeah, really good question. Thank you. If you want to hold that thought, I have the curriculum here. Okay. Just to say, we also have all the marketing things. There's the web presence. We put our association up on the website so students can find you. You can use our logos and so on and so forth. I do have banners and posters you can put around. So they do that. And we do also encourage the cooperation with local Juniper offices. So you can have people come in. I think you guys had somebody come over and talk. And also our partners. And if you want more info, Bill Saychek from OCC is a longtime partner of ours as well. He would have been in here, but he's presenting today. But he said, look, just send them over and be happy to talk to what we've been doing as well. And, So, go ahead.
But what about the training open structures?
Okay, so yeah, we'll get to that in 1 second. So no, this is awesome. I love. Well, I did open the door, right? It was free flow conversation. Here we are. It's okay. It's okay. I just got to flip from slide 4 to slide 12 to slide 6. But that's it. So and again, remember, you can go on here and review the presentations later. I pretty much have this encapsulated as well. So it's great to have dialogue here because you'll remember it when you look at it later as well. So we have a networking fundamentals class. It's a 5-hour online class. It's actually really cool, and It's not designed to replace your entire introduction to networking class, but I think you will find it as a cool asset to provide that kind of multimedia environment. It is agnostic. It doesn't talk about, I think we branded it as Juniper, but it doesn't talk about our stuff only. It really talks about theory. We've just updated it to the IPv6 stuff and the latest technologies. And so we can also, for you, set up a special code once again. So if the students log into our learning portal with this special code, then you can track their progress if you want to see if they completed it as part of a class. So it is SCORM compliant, and so there's some things we can do with that. So once we've gotten from there, then we get into kind of the Juniper stuff, and this is the core curriculum for the JNAA program. It's Introduction to Xenos Operating System, Xenos Routing Essentials, and that really leads, if you wanted to go to certification paths, would lead to the JNCIA Junos certification. You might have heard about some of the academic events we've been running around where it's hosted by the college or university, and then just invite a lot of people. We did one down at Cal Poly in Yanaka. And actually right after this event I'm doing one up in Canada with UIT. But it's kind of an exciting start, and it gives the students and the faculty an opportunity to kind of jump in and really embrace it early. But that's the first one, and then we have what sits on that then is the intermediate routing and the switching, and then what sits on that as well is security and unified threat management. So we have the 6 classes that we provide in the system. There are 3 certifications, and if you wanted to see where that fit into the greater scheme of things, I'm sorry for kind of the light picture here, but here's your networking fundamentals, IGSGRE. That's the foundation for kind of our major tracks, which would be security, enterprise routing and switching, and the service provider. We don't really go into the service provider stuff so much in this track, except provide for the foundation, like JR gets you there. But then you get into some of the large devices, the MXs and so on and so forth, which are kind of hard to provision in the academic environment. I will say this, however, Junos, there's a single operating system across all of our devices, and so this means that the foundation that you give your students here, if they go to one of the larger devices, actually they will be able to sit down and do the command line interfaces, have the same interaction, bigger features, speeds and feeds and so on in the larger boxes, but nothing is lost by having to deal with a different environment and interface environment as you go up the path. So it's a great way for building blocks. So as you can see, this is the area that we have for the JNAA program. If we get into, remember the tiers, the advanced tier, we then start to look at some of the additional curriculum that would build on that for the specialized.
The 6 courses in the previous slide, are these online that we...
These are, so, okay, that's a good question. So networking fundamentals is online. These ones are all designed to be faculty-led. Yeah. So which brings to the other questions, how do you get trained? So for our registered faculty, and if you go back to our website here, once you've done all of these steps here, where you join the Academic Alliance, download the agreement, sign that, and say it's all done, then you have another step 4, which is faculty registration. Once you've registered as one of our faculty, then you get access to several different sites, one of which is being able to download these courses which we have recorded, and then you can view them at your own convenience and study at your own convenience. So you have the curriculum, you have the instructor aids, you have the PowerPoints, you have lab configurations, all of these things, as well as our master instructors teaching the course, so you can view that. So that kind of gives you an opportunity to study it on your own. It does take a little bit of sort of self-motivation to do that. I know everybody's pulled with time, but I think it offers maximum flexibility. We do offer, as I said, these academic courses around as well, and so there's an opportunity to kind of get started with that when we have them in your area. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a quick question about certification, because I really don't know that much about Juniper stuff. So then, as an instructor, do you have to be certified as an instructor before you can start teaching?
So this, again, a very good question. So we have two in the include tier. We need one person on campus who is certified, at least to the level that you're teaching, right? Because the idea is that there'll be somebody who can act as the first level of support locally. If you're including it, we don't expect you to be full certified. We certainly support that, and we provide free vouchers for you to do it. You have all the resources to be able to be successful. I would say that the fastest one of our instructor registered faculty did it was in a week because they had the background. So they just blew through the things. I got this week off. I'm just going to do it, and just did it. And so, regular kind of rhythm of things. It takes a couple months, maybe 3 months to kind of just get there. Right? So
is there a certification for the?
We have recertification every 2 to 3 years.
Because I had the ICARE, but I don't remember.
Yeah. So.
How many?
So you're not, the thing is that obviously, again, these vouchers are provided to you for free. The idea is to be able to have a good foundation and teach the students properly, right? If you're teaching certification courses, you need to be certified at least to the level you're teaching. Right. So if your focus is to get to these tracks there, then you should start there and work your way up the path with it.
Okay, then for students, the next question was, when they have to take the certification test,
yeah,
they have to go someplace else?
So they do, yeah, unless we're doing it in one of the academic series classes where we offer as kind of a cool incentive, the 4th day is a testing day. We bring proctors on campus and we do it there. Otherwise, they would have to go to like a Pearson VUE testing center. Yeah, it's a standard industry activity, and well, so it depends on the level. Like that's 100, that's 200. These are 200 each, and then but at the very worst case, you would get they would get a 50% discount on it. Frankly, yeah, students who, if you told me I've got students who really need to do this and they can't really afford it, I will work with you. And so a lot of times I've given vouchers away. So if you've got those students that are really motivated but for some reason have that roadblock, I'd be happy to help you out with that. I don't always promise that because they come and go, but I have been able to do that here in the last couple of years, so that's kind of cool. So the whole point is to educate the next generation of workforce that coming out of here. We need engineers. I mean, speaking selfishly for the company, it's a great opportunity for the students, but our growth is such that we need feet on the ground with people that can actually use this stuff. And you saw from you heard from my previous comments on how we're growing and where we are. There's some very, very big customers out there that need help, and so if you can provide that for the students coming out, then that would be a great win-win. I won't go too much into the research stuff. Just to mention that we do have those the automation and the application development opportunities that have just been brewing recently. These are in and so the languages that the students would need there are Python, Java, I can't think of the other ones. What I said. Well, Perl is certainly available. I think I had sent you an email on something like that, and I'm sorry for spacing it.
Python's the one I picked up.
Yeah, so it's the interface. Basically, if they can program in any of those languages, I think there's some opportunity there, and so that is one of those things that is at the moment very interesting. Yeah.
So the iOS or Juniper, does it look similar to Linux?
It's called Xenos. Yeah, actually, I mean, I don't know. Do you want to comment on?
It's very much Unix. It clearly is built on top of Unix.
BSD.
Yeah, it's a BSD flavor Unix set.
Okay.
Yeah. But if you know Unix, if students who have already trained in Unix, they blow through this material because the environment is so familiar to them.
Very good.
It's really cool. I personally think it's really, really elegant. it's set up in a programmatic way. The configure, once you look at the configurations, you can see where everything is. It's all hierarchical, and so it makes it really, really easy to work in that. And again, since there's a single CLI across the devices, that makes it really interesting from learning on one platform and then be able to port it over to the others. So really, in this environment, what we're looking for is collaborative partnership. You know, I look to provide the resources that I can for your college. What I ask for you is really take advantage of that and let your students benefit from it. You know, you can talk to some of the professors that have you know, teachers that have actually done that. And see how successful and how happy the students are. The other piece is, you know, because of the include tier, you know, we fully expect you to do, you know, multi-vendor in your class. That's perfectly okay. You don't have to do Juniper and not the C guys or Arcade or whatever. But we, you know, students coming out of your classes should be well versed in a number of different technologies, and that's really why we have the include tier. We expect you and would love you to be able to put all of that stuff and have the students come out in a way that they can really be useful in the market. Of course, the certification is going to be interesting for our customer base. And the folks that want to look at that as a benchmark for the industry knowledge piece of it, right? So we do expect you to have a positive attitude towards Juniper technology. We're letting you do all that. And we encourage you to become as knowledgeable as you would like to be in our technology as well. And so even in advanced, beyond this current curriculum, if you want to really push forward and be super smart and advanced in it, we'll support you in that. The other thing I did want to say is that I talked a little bit about Junisphere. This is a great, this is a great way to start this. It basically supports up to the JNCIA Juno certification right now. So you can do the IJOS and the JRE, and we have all the pre-configured labs for that. We're currently working on extending that to the next level. I do know we have one of our academic alliance members who has actually taken off of the Junisphere site. You can download different images. He's downloaded the MX image and has done some advanced MPLS teaching in his classes as part of a certificate program. And so, once you get familiar with that environment, you'll see how interesting it is. Not only do you have different images you can play with, you also have a number of different tools that our partners have put up there that, you can do, I don't know, wired packets and such.
Downloading the images.
Well, you don't download the image. You download it into the hypervisor environment.
Oh,
so really your interaction is with the browser. And so if you were thinking of the process, you would crank up, you would log into Junisphere right here. You then would start your session, and actually, I'll take it as a student. Student would have a special login and password. Their sandbox then opens up. If you have pre-configured it that way, then it would come up automatically. But within that sandbox, they have a number of different images that they can load, or configurations, if you will.
Different images that are available to that.
Yeah. Or you could build your own. Within Junisphere itself, we also have a wizard. And so if you have, say you have a sandbox that has, 12, 15 VMs in it, then you could just basically click and draw the topology that you want to do. And we've had a number of large topologies that both our customer base uses for modeling, because we also use this tool for modeling very large networks without having to deploy the actual physical devices. But with Queen Mary University of London, we did over 250 routers and switches, not switches, but routers in a large networking environment. So the power of this thing is pretty significant. From a learning point of view, it's just as easy to have one device that they're working with because they're configuring it. So you crank that off, you start off the topology, and then you would tone that into it just in the same way that you would interact with a regular device. It comes up, you log into that particular device, and then you start to do your exercises with it. If you break it, you broke it, right? I mean, this is a real image, and so it's running real code, and so it's not kind of a simulated environment, but you can always restart it, reset it, and so on and so forth. So it gives these students a real opportunity to just get in there and actually play and see what works and doesn't work, and so on and so forth. So it's really, really quite cool.
Now, it's master that the students use this modeling way. Do you have to get the? Is there any? Does Juniper require that they should submit their findings and their research to Juniper?
Well, in the research side, you're talking about research now, or
research or anything in that area?
You know, for example, the thing they did with the MXs in Australia, I'm looking to see if we can release this for the betterment of our academic alliance community, because maybe somebody else wants to teach that, and that's already been done. It took them 3-4 months to actually play with that. So, so I think we encourage that piece of it. On the research side, it's more of a pull as opposed to a push. If you're actually doing things that are interesting to the community, we encourage the opportunities to present papers and that kind of thing at research conferences, and we've done several of those already. But again, that's sort of a little beyond what you would get at the community college student. But certainly, you know, if we're doing some really interesting projects in automation or some of these things that come down, I think it would be a great opportunity to get some mutual marketing, you know, word out there, and that would be advantageous for both us and for your college as well.
Some applied projects, I'd say we've got a project going right now with 2 of the community colleges in our area, and community college students are doing fantastic. It's not, you know, they're not inventing anything new, so they're doing some really good applied research in shipping logistics, you know, working with some companies in the LA area, and how do you improve, how can you, changes in your network configuration improve your operational, you know, logistics. And it's been some neat stuff. So I would say, you know, sometimes research is always looked at as kind of a pure research or inventing something new, but I think there's some neat research things that can be done on the applied side.
Because in my lab, I have actually some students coming from master and graduate student PhD students.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah. Like that. This would be system-making project in this area.
Absolutely, yeah.
Way to say, okay, well, here's something more advanced that I'd like you to work on.
And that would be of great benefit to, so in a case like that where we give you a project to work on, we would want to see what the results are, obviously, because that's a benefit.
I think the issue with the university, and that's why the signing of the agreement is kind of delayed, who owns what, and they kind of care that, you know.
This is true. So we own our IP. Obviously the infrastructure, the ecosystem, all of that stuff is our IP. Up to this point, we've said anything that's developed on SDKs and so on belongs to the person that created it. So we facilitate that. The academic license for research is free. If you take it commercial, there's a commercial license, and so that becomes kind of a different story.
So there is a license, academic license, other than this license?
For in SDK specifically, when you start, you know, using our, because then you have the API calls. You've got, so there's a how you can use and can't use that stuff. Yeah. So, but that's again, that's sort of the second step. But yeah, and it's not. I think it's going to PhD patients. It's not a real big deal. It just talks about what you can do with it, and just the understanding that if you do take it from. And by the way, we really support. You know, some people have spun off companies, and most recently I think it was in Pennsylvania, where a project started out academically, and then the professor there took his students and spun off a small company, and so we are very enthusiastic about that. We think that's great. So we try to help out with that. We do have through our foundation the opportunities to ask for partial seed money. I mean, so there are other things that kick in at that point if it's not necessarily. I did want to make one other quick point. I mentioned Junisphere as a great way to start. I do not always have this, but I do actually have gear at the moment, and I have provided gear to our Academic Alliance members. And so what I want in return is a commitment that you will use it with your students in mind. And so this is stuff that needs to be put into a classroom or into a lab and then integrated in some kind of a learning opportunity. This is not for infrastructure. So because these sales guys will kill me. But I do want to throw that out there. If it's when I do have the gear, then I put it out there. We've given out literally hundreds of routers in the past couple of years.
So do you need a?
Well, so it's not the lack of trying, right? And I'm hoping to talk to those guys again. If you're interested and you already have a NetLab environment, you're interested in collaborating with us in a way that we can put equipment into that environment and have that as a shared resources, I'm certainly happy to talk to you about it. I know that they have some, I don't even know, I'm speaking out of school at this point, but I know historically there were some connections with the other company. And so they were a little reticent to do that. But I think if it's driven by the academic community, then we might be able to do that. I'd certainly put equipment towards that kind of thing. So I think it would be a fair benefit to everybody.
So what contact information do you need for that regarding that gear? No.
Well, all I need for you is to apply to join the Academic Alliance and then download the agreement. It's all there in step 2 and 3. And all of that. So we've tried to make this as easy as possible. It used to all be paper-based.
I think that we just gave that 22 document pages to one of our guys to look it up.
So just tell me, it's a 6-page document with a lot of exhibits, and I'm trying to get rid of most of the exhibits because it's gotten to the point where with mail filters now, don't let you send a document that size to them, so it ends up being a multi-page, So we're trying to fix that on our side as well. And I think if you talk to Dave Nelson from VMware and some of the other guys that are floating around that I do with the other companies, we all have the same problem with our legal department. I mean, it's they want it, and quite rightly so, to protect it. They want everything written down, but that ends up with these monstrous PDFs that you got to deal with. So I continue to try to make this easier. At least you can download it. In this case, you can actually there's a password on there, but you can actually download either the entire agreement or the 4 pages that you need to complete, and then there's a page that says you can you allow me to recompile the initial agreement, so it ends up as one document. So you actually only have to send the 4 pages over. So very cool. Well, we actually have 5 minutes. I don't know what else we can cover today. If there's anything.
So you can get a test drive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can actually get you a demo. You can play with it and see what you like. I have some academic sandboxes, so you have an opportunity to get on and work with it. I do have a kind of a walkthrough where you can just it's kind of some of it is guided, and then the rest of it is sort of free play. So you can spend some time, and please do just send an email or.
So to get access to Jonas here, is it possible to get one until we get this agreement going?
I can get you one, so you can play with it and see what it's about. Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. So it's.
I'm not in a position to be saying my college is going to sign.
Yeah. Who you with?
I work for West LA College.
Okay.
Yeah, we're a Cisco shop and Microsoft shop and an A+ shop.
Right.
But I have the full-time passion.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm going to do the search, and it's just there's available just for one of my students last class, went out and he came back to me and said, "How is it? They want to know about JNAA. How is it?" And I said, "I think it's pretty close to iOS."
Yeah, and actually, I mean, once again, what I would do from sort of a process point of view, these videos here really give a good introduction, and then let's set up a call and have a chat with the folks that need to know. Be happy to do that for you.
Do you think it would be worth my time to try to trial?
What, for the Juniper? Yeah, I'm sure. Why not? Yeah, I mean, if you want to play with it and see what, just send me an email, and I think. There's on here, although all you really have to remember is academic alliance at Juniper.net. But that's me. And I'll get you a card here. The academic alliance at Juniper.net is pretty easy at that point. So those are really the three things you need to remember. That website will give you all sorts of information. The Academic Alliance is a great way to connect or to me directly.
Yeah. You know, for your join Juniper network, is that a 2? Is that 2O?
No, Zoho, Z-O-H-O. That's like, yeah. We just, we have it, we've outsourced that. It integrates with a whole bunch of backend stuff, which makes it pretty easy for me. But, welcome. So I guess I can let you go a couple minutes early, but I'm happy to have, if you've got any individual questions or whatever you want to chat about, or we can keep talking, and that's all great too. But that's more or less my standard pitch. I think the exciting thing for us this year is the single student sandbox, and I think that creates a fair amount of flexibility in being able to not have to schedule time with 2 students so they have to go through the exercises. I think that's going to be a fun way for the students to kind of move on at their own pace.
You said that's going to be coming out soon?
Well, as I said, I was planning to show it today. I think we're still in the release piece, but I think that'll be available here shortly.
That'd be really great, because one of the ways that we use it is students just in our class where we use the C equipment. Some of the students already know it, but they can't credit the course if they were military or whatever. It's something that, credit-wise doesn't count, and just don't want to make them go through the same stuff they already know. And so I have a class right now that's a third of the students are working on Juniper and 2/3 are working on Cisco. So it's been, right now that several of the faculty are getting comfortable enough with it that we really don't care. We become fairly agnostic that, you have to do these things and use either one. And now what we're moving to is we're going to, as soon as we can, get to the point where nobody completes intermediate networking without having a mixed environment. So you've got to make the, Cisco and Juniper and whatnot all work together and integrate them, and especially when you get into like, security, encryption and, creating connections between them. It's a lot of great stuff. So at first I really saw it being kind of almost a contrast or a, kind of a choosing one or the other, but it's really becoming a
blended learning experience. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Right, and we just find our students are so much more comfortable because whichever one they learn, they can pick the other one up really fast. But their own self-confidence just explodes once they, they just get more inventive when they have to make things work. That they don't have instructions that tell you this material is great. It shows students what to do. Cisco stuff's great. It shows students what to do. But when you make them work together, they have to scratch their head and they have to figure it out. And I think that's what drives their confidence very high.
Awesome. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see when they start playing on a big device too, how the foundational learning.
We're looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Because we can get enough power in the room to turn it on.
That's the challenge. Well, I thank you so much for spending some time today, and as I said, I'm available. I'll be here till tomorrow afternoon, and so if you all want to chat.